So right now, as I'm sitting here, sort of waiting for what wants to come in, I'm noticing the warmth of the sun on my face. I'm watching Hanta look for trouble to get into. I know I'm breathing. I hear a car off in the distance. I feel my feet on the ground, the pressure of my leg on the rock. The breeze, just the slightest breeze. So that subtle sense of presence, which is also called awareness, when it's sort of moves out and loses itself in these phenomena, it's as if you move out of that centered presence that you are, which is the circle. Ah, my friend the raven. So it's just this subtle, relaxed, sort of settling back into that subtle awareness that's not aware about anything, that's open, relaxed, that's this heart. And the reason I'm sort of starting with that, I for some reason, one of the words that wants to come forth in some way is suicide. And I'm very careful of generalizing about or making a statement that would pertain to all people who wish to take their life. Because I suppose you could say a person who has cancer and allows the cancer to do whatever it's going to do and they die. To some people, I suppose that could be interpreted as suicide. I don't think it is. What it is that there's a surrender, that they have decided not to interject themselves in the process of life and death. So there's no willful act there. There's really the lack of the willful act of I'm going to fight it and I'm going to kill this cancer. So it is in a sense in that way, and perhaps even also people who are euthanized because they're not able to live at all and they're in deep, horrible suffering. That they wish, in a way, to surrender themselves because they already experienced themselves so drastically as not alive. So you can't generalize, but and I'm struggling because a friend of mine recently took their life. And I'm very hesitant to interpret or think that I could explain, even in this medicine of one, why that happened. Because to be honest with you, unlike most of the people who come to me and I work with, who I am doing sessions, I'm tapping into this inner core, they're sharing their life, they're exposing themselves. My friend would not expose, would not share the pain as she actually described it. That she was in pain. Now the pain wasn't physical. So let's just take that. Let's just take someone who is not in physical pain, but is in some deep kind of psychological continuous pain, that it's so bad that the only way for peace is for them to end their life. What is it that they're really terminating? If this sense of you as the circle is something that's eternal, what is it that they're terminating? When that pain mostly comes from their mind, and even physical pain can be greatly accentuated through your mind's involvement in it. That your mind can cause you to tense and to feel more pain than you might actually otherwise feel. So a psychological pain then becomes what's happening in our own minds, that are these movements within the circle of you. Thought is energy. That's why thoughts can be tapped into that were maybe hundreds of thousands of years old or in a person's life, because they remain in this field. Those thoughts go on. So thought is energy. So with these thoughts against themselves, perhaps, they suffer because they believe them. They are believing their thoughts, or there are thoughts within the circle that are so difficult, so that they embody something that person within that thought is so painful to feel. Something like feeling powerless, helpless. Perhaps for a person who has always seen themselves as strong, able to manifest and do what they see, able to overcome things easily. And each time they're able, through this willful act, to succeed at what they set out for themselves. And then something starts to happen where they're not able to succeed, where the problem gets worse and worse. And they feel more powerless and more powerless and more helpless. And they can't allow that feeling. So in reaction to the powerless, helpless feeling, somehow that which can succeed, which can willfully do, which can overcome, can be channeled into the idea of taking their own life. It would almost be like if you were going to lose your home. There was nothing you could do about it. The bank was going to foreclose on it. You could sit there and wait, live there as long as you could, or you could go, no, I'm the one in control here, and I'm leaving, and you can have the house. Now that might be counterproductive to their own survival. They might have been able to stay there, save some money, perpetuate that. They could have perhaps found a way, and perhaps by making this choice, they end up in worse conditions. That's then lead one from one bad condition to another, to a state of economic failure. So that willful act actually has undermined them, and they're left with the only act left to them that they can control, and yet do perhaps as a ceremony. So, what's right and what's wrong? Is this wrong? The only way you can really answer that is, how do I want to live my life? Now I've made the choice. I've made this medicine of one, how I want to live my life. That I become this aware love, spaciousness that engages all that moves. I do not try to remain unaware of any part of it. I do not listen to any part that whispers in my ear, do this, do that. And so, unless this medicine one somehow leads me through the door of death as a act of surrendering to that, I continue to live. But if this person were not committed to that, it wasn't their path. Their path was the path of the warrior. The path of honor. Honor, of course, is interpreted by our own mind through how we see ourselves from the outside. So perhaps this person that failed economically completely felt dishonored by that, and that this was an act of reclaiming that honor. So what is honor? What is the medicine of one's definition of honor? It seems that it's not a noun, that it's a verb. And that honor in some way is the same thing as love. And that the greatest form of that honoring is compassion, love, and honoring all the movements. The movement of powerlessness, the movement of helplessness, the movement of rage, the movement of I want to kill myself because it hurts too much. Because I just feel horrible. That's a movement. We can't pretend it's not there. But we must honor it without believing it. So what does that mean? What does this mean to give up believing in your thinking? I mean, because all this medicine one talk's a lot of thinking, isn't it? I mean, it's talk coming out of my mouth. But in a way, I'm not sitting here thinking. I don't sit here and think a lot before I sit here. So I'm just letting it move through me. And yes, there is some of that process, but I'm not in control of it really. That's why you see me stop. Because when I feel the emptiness, I just stop and sit there for a minute in that emptiness, rather than try to, I better keep talking. I'm sitting here in front of the camera. I can't just sit still. So, let's just say no matter what form that suicide might take, no matter what reason someone might do that still, in the end, give up believing in your thinking. I don't know what the result of that would be in every instance. But it's to abide as the center, heart, to everything that moves. That's all. To abide as the center and the circle and the spaciousness to everything that moves in terms of its feeling, but not getting engaged in what it believes about life, myself, other people, the past, the future, now. And from that to live my life.